Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bourbon Over Baseball with your host Bob and co-host Peter.
Good to be here, as always.
And good to have the NL back to help us out with how bad the AL has been. But you held out a little bit. I know you were waiting for some fun pennant run cards to come.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure the people at home are listening and are hoping for the same thing. But right now, we have a really flashy, bright yellow, a very vibrant. I actually like the way these came out. Pirates team.
Yeah, and I was really trepidatious about how they look. I thought this would, honestly, I was not expecting as many positive comments about the Pirates as I received. I went away from the giant pirate logo.
Mm-hmm.
Don't really remember why exactly I did. I remember looking at it, and I've seen it a lot everywhere, and I hadn't seen it used as much recently.
Mm-hmm.
So I went with the more common baseball-looking P in the circle.
Yeah.
And then I really do like the word Pirates just sort of spelled out, and I was able to loop it sort of perfectly over the chart there. And so I was really happy with the way that looked out. But I thought that those two things in concert were going to raise some eyebrows and maybe some more criticism than they have. And I thought the yellow might be because it's slightly more golden shade than I think most of the cards for the Pirates have been used. They're usually a much brighter yellow, or lighter yellow is probably the better phraseology. And I like how the gold really worked, and I think the yellow jerseys on it pop, and especially the black uniforms pop really well. And overall, I think it's a really good-looking team, and pleasantly surprised.
I agree. I mean, I was looking at the black, and obviously that pops really well. And black and gold is very popular in Pittsburgh. But I was concerned also if you were going to throw any yellow jerseys on there, and they're not bad because it's just a shade different.
Yep.
And it doesn't. I would think it would just look like a bleeding mess, but it actually. The two we're going to talk about first are Starling Marte and Josh Bell. They really sort of they have their own frame, so it feels really nice. So I think kudos to you.
Oddly enough, Josh Bell's image there is the one that inspired me to do Marte and Bell, and there might be another one in here with the yellow jersey. Because if you notice on Bell, the P on the helmet is the same color as the background. It's much more golden yellow, and I noticed that it was a few shades different than the jersey itself, which inspired me to go, you know what? I think this might work, similar to how the more bright, for whatever reason, navy blue jersey on Ryan Zimmerman was one of your favorite Nationals cards.
That's right. Sometimes I'm quirky with my likes, and I sort of do like the way sometimes the just off tone jumps out at me. But let's jump right into it. Then you got obviously Starling Marte then with the yellow jersey, who not bad, 230 points, A speed.
I really like it, and then a big chart for an on-base 7.
Yeah,
like this is an explosive player. I mean, he's got a lot of pop going on. He had a down year contact-wise, which I know some fans might be upset with, but it's just what his on-base percentage was.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets the 7, and he gets a really extraordinary chart from it. When you've got a single plus at 11, you're going to get a ton of extra base hits, and with the depressed controls in this set, I think he's going to be a guy who gives you a lot of value, although he's got low defense.
Yeah, the low defense but he does play all the outfield, which is nice.
Yep.
Again, it is +0, so it's not exciting, but I do love the A speed 21 on him. It's like just a nice little solid like 7 on base guy that fits at the end of your lineup. That's not going to hurt you. I like it. Now, Josh Bell, on the other hand,
he's going to give you fits come draft day.
Yeah, I feel like I have his facial expression while drafting him if I'm going to. It's like, oh, sweet, he's a 9, awesome. But he's -1 at first base because he was the worst first baseman in all of baseball defensively. And then he's got 1 through 6 out. So it's really tough. I don't know if I could take something like this, but I don't know how you could pass up too many on-base 9s.
Especially for under 300 points.
Exactly.
And, it's only -1.
It is only -1, and at a position where
+1 is the norm.
Yeah, 0 is the norm. +1 is like a really good one. Obviously, there are some +2s, but so you're only losing out in -2 here, so it's not the biggest deal.
Like, is it any different than drafting it? Like, if he was a second baseman who was +1, would you hesitate? Because It's probably a bigger gap between having a second baseman +1
Yeah.
with this on base 9 than it is to take this first baseman -1.
You're absolutely right. The only I guess I don't hesitate as much, and maybe I'll retract a little bit there. Then I agree with you. I don't think it's as big a deal with the -1. I think the bigger deal is the 1 through 6 out, and not having like a crushing home run number.
Yeah.
As we'll talk about the next player in a second, I think it's a lot better. But for a 9 under 300 points, I mean, he's definitely gonna find a spot. But it's just interesting to see where that weighs in on people.
Yeah, you teased him, but Gregory Polanco.
Oof, this guy.
I pray that he somehow. Is he worth the second-round pick?
Nah,
I really want him.
That's.
I'm hoping he lasts till the third round for me.
I mean, his chart is very
well. 1 through 6 out is tough.
Yeah,
but what a chart.
Yeah, well, you have everything you basically want here. You got an 8, which is really good in a lower control, like in a vacuum for just a 2018 set. A speed, and he has pop, like 11 double, also 15, 16 triple, and then also can homer at 17. Is very, very strong player
with speed A.
Yeah, I don't know if I would. I'm not second rounder on him. I have him in the, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th round.
Ooh, I'm gonna reach.
Well,
not second round, but
no. I have the next batter a little bit higher in my rankings, but I have a little favoritism towards certain people. But I don't see how he lasts very long, and I would take him obviously over Josh Bell, and I feel like a lot of people might jump on a player like this because they know they're going to get the speed, the power, and really good on base. The only thing I could see is if someone was like really afraid to not have the fielding would be the only reason.
But for a corner outfielder, you can DH him. Great. I think he's a great get. And then a guy you're going to end up reaching for in the draft.
Yeah. I hope no one else does, but there's only one, right? Only one 10 catcher.
Yeah.
And it's Francisco Cervelli. Awesome picture, by the way, that you got. Like,
thank you.
I feel like he's like picked up a ball that was like rolling to the side. I can't tell here. It just looks so exciting.
Yeah,
so much movement.
I think it's a bunt, and he's like in an action.
Yeah, there's a ton of movement on this picture. It just looks great. So there's like almost no downside in this card. Obviously, he's C-speed, but he's C-speed 14, so just a little bit below B. You're not going to get a lot of pop here. I mean, he's a catcher, but a 10-speed catcher or 10 on-base catcher with a +7 arm
for 340 points.
He's like my favorite catcher in the whole league, but I could see maybe people going Wilson Ramos.
He's my number one.
Yeah. But JT Realmuto if you really wanted to, but Yasmel
his pennant run card. Hint.
Don't. Yeah, the whole Phillies lineup basically. But I personally like taking 10s even if they don't always hit home runs. I just really like getting on base.
Yeah.
And he just reminds me it is so funny how many 10 Pirates catchers I've seen. You had was it Jason Kendall back in the day? Yep. And then I know the 2014 set that Colby and them did had a Russell Martin. So it's cool to see it.
Really, he's very similar to that Jason Kendall, I think.
Yeah. And so it's really kind of exciting to see another 10 catcher. And I think, again, I have him as one of the top 2 catchers in all of 2018 Showdown. In terms of draftability, I just don't think there's any downside of this card. I'd like him more than Gregory Polanco, but it just depends on how you want to reach and how you want to draft your team.
Yeah, both Jason Kendalls in the original set were on-base 10s who walked until 10. Well, the 2001 was 5-9 walk. But 18-19 double on both, 20 home run.
Except for I'm pretty sure those guys had A-speed.
They did have A-speed, and they had some single plus in there. But by and large, Cervelli's a cheaper, so he's slower, and he gets out more, and he doesn't have quite the same extra base, but you save somewhere between 90 and 120 points as a result. So
I really like him a lot. I'm and the people listening, I think a lot of my Showdown opponents and Peter's Showdown opponents as well coming up here in the next couple of months are listening, and they'll know that I'm also eyeing this guy up. So, and the Pirates as you knew, and as people were surprised, is they have a really good team.
Yeah.
So we just talked about probably 3 very draftable people. Even Starling Marte could be drafted, but 3 pretty draftable people. Well, the next guy, Corey Dickerson, I mean, he's a 7+2 outfielder. So
Yeah. +2 outfielder, doubles a 10.
it's they have a really good team. And again, they just missed the playoffs and they were trying for the run. But you got another speed 7 guy with plus fielding now at doubles a 10. Yeah, they just have a really solid team. So
And he's followed up by an on-base 8,
Yep.
Colin Moran.
Yes.
Who's followed up by another on-base 7 with a lot of pop. Like, they're going 7 deep in this lineup in terms of guys who can be lethal. I think the big weakness, they don't have a premium on-base 9 or 10. I know Cervelli is a 10, but you don't. Basically, they're missing the Andrew McCutchen cards from those 2013 to 15 range, where he's the on-base 10 with a lot going on with him.
Yeah.
And they've, even though they've got 7s and 8s, those guys have a lot of outs on their charts. Yeah. And I think that's backbreaking. But I mean, I think I say in the post, this is a team that in one game, if you take this Pirates team in the 2018 set, can beat any other team in the set. Like, and I just think, unfortunately, they don't have enough firepower to win as consistently, and the rotation at the back end is a little weak. But I mean, they could conceivably have gone to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Roster construction-wise, I get why they went all in. It's a good team.
Yeah, I mean, each player, even individually looking at, has their own ups. Like, so you got this guy playing third base who's a little slower with no fielding, but then he's an 8 that has a little bit of pop. And then you have Adam Frazier now, who's maybe a little bit less on base, still got some pop, doesn't get out much,
fielding.
and then he's +4 fielder. So it's like, okay, well, I like those guys. So like you said, there's like the top of their lineup, their top like 8 players are all very well balanced and constructed. Yeah, Jordy Mercer's a little bit on the low end, and by a little bit, a lot on the low end, but you're probably not picking him up. There's really no plus side of him, but the rest of the team is, as people would probably like, oh, the Pirates, they were garbage. Well, kind of looking at, they were pretty good.
Yeah, and if they hadn't gotten rid of David Freese,
that's right,
who for a while in the set was just on the Pirates.
Yes.
Until we noticed come playoff time, as he's killing my Brewers, that he is a Dodger, and became the 21st member of the Dodgers in the set.
Yep.
Who I will move back over probably in my league, but he's the first base, third base guy, on base 8 with really good pop.
Yeah, could you imagine him sit on this team too? They would have had a really good team.
Because I always play with the DH.
Yeah,
so they're going to be eight deep.
Yeah.
So
again,
team.
Their bench though, again we start.
Diaz might get drafted.
Well, let's see here. We got a 7 on base, which is actually pretty decent because a lot of catchers are not good hitters.
With an average arm and a lot of pop.
Yeah. He could find a spot for a person waiting on a catcher, and he's going to be above the bottom tier people.
Yeah.
But then Josh Harrison, big fall off. You're not picking him up. But yeah, Elias Diaz could have a spot. So how did the pitching turn out?
The front of their rotation is very good.
Mm-hmm. So we got, what is this? Jameson, how do you pronounce it? Talon?
I think it's I'm not sure.
Talon?
All I know is he was a very hyped prospect for a while. I remember he had peak like tier 2 potential where he'd be like a 4 on at 18, 5 on at 17 guy in the minors, and we were very high on him. And here he is. Like, he hit for our minor leagues. He is right in his likely projection, so to speak,
and right where you like him, a 4 control 1 through 16 out.
And they've got him, and then you got Trevor Williams doing the exact same thing in the number 2 slot. Which is
interesting. I like the old school Pirates gear that he's wearing in this photo.
Yeah, he's looking sharp, and it's a really good 1-2 punch.
Yeah, so you only lose out on the inning for Trevor Williams. He goes on to inning 5. But
so
he
very,
has the
very
extra
easy
walk.
To tell how much an IP is worth in our point tally.
Yeah, and you could see you get the extra walk, maybe one less single, but they're pretty comparable. Obviously, you'd take Jameis Towson if you could, but let's say he's not there and you need another guy. Trevor Williams seems like a good pick.
Really good, especially if you have a good bullpen. This
Yeah.
is a really good guy to have. Fortunately, kind of a drop off with Ivan Nova,
Mm-hmm.
who, oddly enough, is Colby's cards. In 2011, he's somehow a control 6, 1 to 15 out,
Oh wow.
which is very good. Like it was, it's an interesting card, and he had 2 doubles on it, which I guess is sort of the. I'm not as afraid of the doubles
Yeah.
because he had, let's see, 2011 he had a 3.7 ERA and a 1.33 WHIP, but he got I think it's because he was 16-4 record wise, so I think their control might have been tied to wins.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure, but anyway, that's a tier 2 which can be dominant, and he won the Cy Young in our league. We played a 30-something game
Wow.
season, and he had, I think, like 7 starts. He never went more than 5 innings.
Wow.
But he, like, because of the smaller sample size, he ended up with like a 1 point something ERA, and was absolutely a steal for like 400 points.
Well,
He's always someone who goes for us.
well, and this one's a weird one too, seeing that he's got a decent control, and so you're like, okay, he's pretty average, but he gives the home runs. So you're like, man, I really don't want this guy on my team because of the home run. But high control, it's only a 5% chance. But I wouldn't take him. I don't think you should either. But he is an interesting guy. And then they have Chris Archer, who they traded for. They got rid of a handful of their people to get him at the All-Star break, basically to push to hopefully make the playoffs. They didn't do well, and he wasn't. This is a down year for him.
Which I'll just say, he's been down because I remember at the time you and I talking about what I would want, because the Brewers were very much alive in the Chris Archer sweepstakes, and I was going back and forth because even in 2017 he was a control 2, 1 to 17 out, and he hasn't pitched under 4 ERA since 2015.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's been a few years when he was like super dominant.
Like, yeah, he was a Cy Young contender in 2015, but since then, and he went 9-19, he went 10-12, he went 6-8, ERA over 4, and it just keeps going up. His WHIP keeps going up.
Yeah, I hope that he can bring it around. Obviously, pitching in the NL, you get to face the pitchers, which is a bonus. The best thing about this card is that he doesn't give a double.
Also, it's one of my favorite looking pitcher cards.
I do like the cards that I can get with finishing their motion.
Yeah, and I took me forever, but I got a lot of his dreads in it, and individually cut the dreads so that they'd be flying on their own.
There you go.
And it's a good high quality picture. So this is one that I might draft to end my rotation, just because
the best picture team.
Yeah, gotta finish strong.
So then, speaking of finishing strong, not their bullpen,
which is a real. Their 2017 team had 3 tier 1 relievers on it. It was absolutely dominant. Poor Felipe had a significant drop off from 2017 to 2017. His ERA was still under 3, but his WHIP was 1.24. Like, it was a high WHIP, and unfortunately, that ended up costing him as a low control tier 4, compared to in 2017 when he had a 1.67 ERA and a 0.88 WHIP. And then they also had guys like AJ Schugel, who was dominant, and George Contos, who had very small sample size that we some reason gave a card to because my friend Michael, I think, maybe cheats with his teams in the creation, because there's no way he should have gotten a card. But, neither here nor there. I've clearly let it go. They really fell off with Felipe this year, sadly. Yeah. But there's a lot of solid relievers here who should get drafted, like Richard Rodriguez and Edgar Santana and Kyle Crick are all tier 3 guys. They just have low control. So people are going to be scared by it. Can't really pitch them more than 1 inning.
Yeah.
But, in terms of just bringing out for 6, 7, 8 or something like that, not bad, just scary and the potential.
We'll see how deep the reliever pool goes. If it ends up going thin, you are going to have to go digging for some of these type of guys. I mean, obviously, like Richard Rodriguez is the best, being a 3 control 1 through 17 outs, a pretty solid Greg Swindell type.
Yep.
But I'd hope to stay away from any 2 control guys. But I guess if you had to, definitely want to get a guy that's 1 through 18 out. So one of those would be a benefit.
Yeah, stay away from Fleas, who
yeah.
I got. If you can't tell, he's frustratingly receiving a ball back after getting smashed for a home run. And so I figured I'd just prepare all of us for, just like Ivan Nova, who's rubbing his face after giving up a home run. The guys who give up those big blasts are struggling.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of numbers on this card. I mean, he's only 1 through 15 out, and then there's a singles, there's a homer.
Yep.
It's not a pretty chart. He's only a 2 control. Stay away from this guy if you can. But like you said, there's a couple draftable relievers. The front end of the starting is good, but I think the big plus side of this team is how well balanced their starting lineup is. How do you think they'll fare in your team league?
Honestly, I think they're going to be more of a contender than I realized, except the Cardinals are going to add Paulie Goldschmidt and Andrew Miller from Pennant Run. The Brewers, who are already really good, get to add Yasmani Grandal. The Cubs are just really good.
Yeah.
They're a very good team. And the Reds added so many pieces that at the end of the day, they're going to be probably a little below 500, just like they were in real life.
Yeah. It's sad, too, because they're not like fully rebuilding where you'd be like, oh, the Baltimore Orioles are terrible. But they're like right there. You're like, come on, just a couple more pieces and we could be there.
Yeah, no, it's kind of sad. If they had Garrett Cole still.
Oh yeah.
If they had Garrett Cole and
still.
Andrew McCutchen, be a really good team.
Well, and David Freese. I mean, imagine just if they had a couple pieces, but they are a small market team and they like to trade for value and build from within. They're going to keep doing that, but hopefully they can get something together because they have some fun pieces here that I think are very draftable.
Yeah.
Well, that is the Pirates, everybody. I think next up we have the Detroit Tigers, which again are going back to the AL, which is another poor performing team, which everyone's going to be like disappointed to listen to us talk about. But we got to get through it, people. But what do you have lined up next for the NL? Something probably more exciting than the Detroit Tigers.
I think it'll probably be the Mets.
Ooh, very exciting. So I know we have some people on Twitter eagerly waiting to see what Jacob deGrom is, what Noah Syndergaard is, what are some of these young people on their team. Is it Nemo or whatever? And
yeah, Brandon Nemo.
And what's the other
really
guy?
Good year. Conforto.
Yep, Conforto.
And then might be a little Robbie Cano. Might be a little Edwin Diaz.
We don't know. Only Peter's
might have Wilson Ramos.
They have a fun team with some big stars, and they have a fun pennant run coming as well, which is going to be very big for people.
Chad Lowry.
They're fun.
They did have people.
Yeah, they're going to have an exciting year.
Phillies, Reds, and Mets.
Yeah. The Phillies, I think, are the best team in that. Well, no, I think the Braves are the best team, but I think the Phillies made the best improvement, and the Mets are second best. But yeah, I mean, this is
I'm sticking to my showdown guns and saying the Nationals are going to win that division.
I saw you write that on Twitter. I don't know. I mean, they'd have to.
They had the best team last year on paper.
They lost a big chunk.
But they added Patrick Corbin. They didn't lose that much because they replaced him with Victor Robles.
There you go.
I
really want to see what Juan Soto turns into, but for now at least, we'll eagerly wait for the Mets to come because I think the Tigers are going to disappoint most people, though they do have one or two people that are draftable. But I think everyone's really excited to see what comes up next from Peter. So with that, thank you again, Peter, for joining us.
All right. Thanks, Bob.